Good evening, gentlemen. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome all of you to this roundtable discussion. I'm Sneha Jha, editor of ETCIO, and your moderator for the session. And I'd like to thank all of you sincerely for taking out the time to be with us today. This roundtable discussion is brought to you by ETCIO in association with ServiceNow and DX Sherpa. The topic for today's discussion is Customer Journey Redefined. We have with us industry practitioners who've been there, done that, and are here to help. With me today is Akash Desai, Regional Director for ServiceNow, and Uday Birajdar, Partner DX Sherpa Technologies. Good evening, Akash and Uday. Thank you for joining us today.
Our pleasure, and thanks for everybody for joining in.
And now let me welcome our prestigious group of panelists. They are KV Deepu, President and Head of Operations, Bajaj Allianz General Insurance; Subhash Kelkar, CTO, ICICI Securities; E. Ratan Kumar, GMIT, Central Bank of India; Shiv Kumar Bhasin, Group CTO and COO, National Stock Exchange; Prashant Chauhan, Associate Vice President, Digital Technologies, Tata Capital; Rahul Vaidya, CIO, Wholesale, Piramal Capital and Housing Finance; KRC Murthy, SVP, Head of IT, Kotak Mahindra Bank; Prashant Deshpande, VP IT, Shriram Transport Finance Company; Uday Birajdar, Partner DX Sherpa Technologies, and Akash Desai, Regional Director, ServiceNow. Good evening, gentlemen. Once again, thank you for participating in this discussion. First off, context is important to every discussion. So before we take a deep dive into the topic at hand, let me set a bit of context with all of you. Now, digital transformation has had very far-reaching ramifications on businesses across the globe. In many ways, the future has been pulled forward faster than we would have ever expected. And in this hyper-connected world, the customer experience has become the touchstone for success for most organizations. And the BFSI sector is no different. The customers here have various different expectations from their financial services companies, and all of this requires the financial services companies to provide intelligent, intuitive ways of partnering with them, engaging with them, and ways that are embedded in the lifestyle of their customers. Hence, it's important to create customer journey maps that can help you provide moments of customer delight and provide a very fulfilling and positive, satisfying and compelling experience to your customers every time they engage, interact and do business with you. This is really critical because not just in terms of cross-selling, upselling opportunities, but it also helps you increase your growth year on year. It also helps you provide your customers with ease of business. It gives you a confidence to, take on players, newer, agile players that are coming up on the competitive landscape. So why don't we hear from the great minds present here and try and understand what their thoughts and perspectives on this are. So let me plunge headlong into this discussion with you, Deepu sir.
Sure.
So when digital transformation moved from a buzzword to becoming a mainstream topic and started making inroads into the organizations, the insurance companies started to modernize its quote management, claims management, purchasing process, underwriting, also improving the customer and employee journey with digital transformation. So what are your key priorities in each of these areas? And while you try to deliver on some of these business imperatives, what are some of the hurdles and impediments that you're facing? What are some of the stumbling blocks that you have avoided and that you would want to, move over?
No, I think it's a good question to start off with in terms of what have been the challenges and what have been the key priorities. These are the two parts to your question. I think one thing which we need to understand is that when you map the entire customer journey landscape, it's important to pick moments that matter. For example, if you look at the insurance business, the claim is the moment of truth. And just to give you one example of how transformation has helped. Earlier, if let's say you crashed your car, normally you would call up a surveyor, or rather call up the insurance company who would appoint a surveyor. He'll physically visit the site of the crash, make an assessment, and the whole rigmarole kicks in. That can take days. Now customers are empowered. They can click photographs. That's for step number one. Step number two, just upload them using the mobile app.
Self-service.
Yeah, the AI engine at the back end will basically, arrive at the estimated amount and convey that to the customer. He gives his consent, the money is transferred in 20 minutes for up to certain amount. So that's how, we've been able to transform, the entire landscape using digital transformation with real value to the customer. This is actually walking the talk. Now coming to your points around challenges, there are a few. One is digital transformation by default tends to be in English, but you need to be where the customer is, right? So I think whether it's a bot, whether it's a website, we've been able to speak the customer's language. So, that's one area by which, we've been able to amplify our reach. So I think that's one challenge, which we had to overcome. Because
so being multilingual to service customers across geographies.
Across the spectrum, digitally.
Right.
Because otherwise you'll end up having, digital servicing only for the urban savvy customers, and you'll have, analog servicing, for the rest of the population. Whereas here, for example, we have an app exclusively in Indian languages for farmers who take crop insurance from us.
So
and it's worked like
digital
wonders.
inclusion is
yes,
what
absolutely. So that's one thing, because there's no point in doing digital transformation if it's not at scale.
Correct.
The other option is challenge is when human beings and customers typically come to you when they need empathy and a healing touch. It cannot become very professional and scientific alone, right? You just cannot have a bot which gives
There's
you
an art
efficacy.
and science to it.
Exactly. Customer service is an art and a science. Therefore, how do you also humanize a digital? How do you bring in the efficiency of bots but get them to mimic human behavior? So I think that's one challenge which firms are overcoming.
Right.
Initial thoughts I can go on and on, but I'm cognizant of time, so I'll leave it here.
Okay. All right. But you brought in very interesting points about digital inclusion, serving the lowest common denominator of the population, reaching out to them in their vernacular languages. You also brought in this fact of marrying technology with the humane aspects, so that when the customers are dealing with a bot, there could be a level of frustration if they don't get the required answers and things like that. So that's a very interesting element. I'd like to take it to Mr. Ratan Kumar. Mr. Ratan Kumar, as banking and financial services move into the realm of intuitive, intelligent, financial services, and we're talking embedded finance, we're talking BNPL. When we're talking about all of these customer-centric innovations, all of this will be driven by a very high level and usage of data-led insights. And this is what will go into creating the customer journey maps, right? So how are you looking at creating an effective customer journey map?
To be very simple, actually, the time needed to complete the transaction and a frictionless journey. It should be transparent and simplicity. By and large, it has to be hyper personalized and contextualized. Now, what do you do for all these things? Basically, is that now how do you harness? Now you need to create a user persona. Who are that we are going to talk to, and what are their background? What is that they are going to ask? What is their behavior? So these details we need to harness through data and have that in place once we start our conversation with him or once he starts the journey with us. The second thing is that how do you make it contextualized? I mean, how do you see that it is relevant for him? So this is another portion when how to handle this when we go with the customers. Now the third important thing is that to understand and personalized, contextual and automated. I think these are the basic things which we need to do once we start mapping the customer touch points. Now, the other important thing is that he gets a uniform information when he approaches on any one of the channels. There should be uniformity in the data once we dispense with, whether it's a call center, whether it's on a website, or whether it is any form of a channel, whatever he is there.
Omnichannel.
It has to be a uniformity in dispensation when we found it. Otherwise, we will be creating a confusion in the customer minds.
Correct.
So I think these are the things which we say.
Right. So you've given me some interesting building blocks, and that will be a perfect segue into my question to Mr. Kelkar. Mr. Kelkar, Mr. Ratan Kumar spoke about frictionless journey, and that comes with simplicity, ease of use. He spoke about hyper personalization, context. So we say that context is the king, but then content is the king, but context is the kingdom. So when you're creating customer journey maps, you need to be very context aware of who your customers are, what stage of life they are in, what are their aspirations, what do they want, and you need to really have those behavioral clues on which you can then provide them a rich context aware experiences, right? So how are you leveraging customer journey maps for customer segmentation, persona creation, for the customer value maximization, to try and understand what exactly a particular segment of customer needs and how you can go about fulfilling those needs, and maybe offer something that would delight them in the process?
So I think very interesting question, and my answer will be, see, we in our industry, we have gone through more and more younger population becoming members and exploring things on the platform, right? So what happens is, typically we see a millennial coming in. About 70% of our customers are less than 30 years. We also see a Gen Z coming in. And we also see traders, seasoned traders coming in, and they are product oriented. They want click, click, click. They want to do their transaction and go off the platform. Whereas somebody new to the entire investment industry, he wants to explore.
Like
So,
a DIY customer who would want to explore.
like a DIY, but he wants to explore what are the avenues available for investment. I want to learn.
So more in the
Maybe
research
I
mode.
would offer him a gamified learning experience, more content driven content than product driven. But a seasoned player like a trader, if he is given this simplistic journey, he will hate it. He would want every corner of the screen to be, putting some information, and Mr. Basin will know this. They want all that they can see on that one screen, and they want to make decisions, buy, sell, go off the platform. So I have to be very different with different customers, not only personas, but at what stage you are, and context sensitive. I have to be in the interest of the customers. So for example, we have provided alerts. If you are selling a particular stock and it is going under dividend in the next 7 days, we alert the customer. Please don't sell. Though we have to also think about how my customer can make profit and make money. So we have to be, changing the stuff every now and then and be context aware. And that's where you need to see customer getting value all the time. It's a different, you have to morph your app very differently for that.
Right.
So, I can go on and on, but maybe I'm cognizant of time.
So you need to you basically need to play it by the ear for every customer segment, and you need to cater to them with cater to their different requirements, and provide a UI UX in a similar fashion, right?
A journey experience.
A journey
It's an
experience, correct,
right? And I do see some of the younger generation, more influencer driven. They don't want to study too much. They want to go with referrals. The Gen Z decision making is very different than millennial decision making is very different than the 45-year-old person. So they need more news, more content, more industry specific data, more trending and more graphs and charts and whatnot. Whereas a millennial is going by exploration. They want to explore, they want to research themselves. Whereas the Gen Z person would go with influencer.
So how do you go about curating these journeys for different customer segments, and what are some of your key learnings? You've discussed some of them while you were responding to this question, but how do you go about curating that journey?
It's you have to also experiment. You do A/B testing, right? These days you can't think that my thinking of how customer wants the journey is the final. No, you cannot do that. You have to do CUG. You have to get 100 customers to experiment with it, and they give very different insights. And you need to observe them how they react to every screen. Yeah, how they see this easy, they see this required, they see this, yeah, I want this. They see that wow factor, they see that better. They give us suggestions and they give us inputs. You need to listen to the customer. Because if you think that whatever you have given is final, that's not how we will do that. We are flexible. Our information architecture is in such a way that we want to change it. I mean, we are ready for change.
Correct.
We are dynamic. We don't say that this is final. No.
Okay. So it's always a work in progress.
Work in progress.
Right, right. Now, Mr. Deshpande, customer journey mapping requires a lot of research and a lot of a usage of data. How do you make sure that you are always in the line of observation and communication with customers? Because your customer segment is very different, and like Mr. Deepu said, you need to cater to them in different ways to, appeal to their sentiments.
Compared to the others speakers, my customers are extreme customers. So we are in a business where my one customer is a truck driver, and we are specifically in a used vehicle finance build, not in new vehicle, where we want a driver to have aspiration to become owner. Chalak se malak we call. So we have that customer with us. And my second product is deposits, where senior citizens are my customers. Okay. So when, as we are the solution has to be very context sensitive, and as is rightly mentioned, it is work in progress. Okay. So how we arrive at the journey, we have advantage of having almost 20,000, 25,000 plus feet on street guys. Okay. And effectively they become our touch point for this customer. Okay. So when we started this journey, the digital journey around 10-15 years back, we ensured that what is required for the customers, as you rightly mentioned, user experience, customer experience is very critical. And though when I say it's a truck driver or a senior citizen, believe me, they are more tech savvy than the millennials today. Okay. Like my truck drivers, when we ask what is your requirement, we interviewed more than 5,000 customers at different area, and they says कि आपने वो ad देखा है TV पे, a person on toll, his that FASTag has been finished and he just clicks and he moves on. So he says मेरा all transaction should happen when I was standing in the queue of toll.
So the expectations are
The
high.
expectations are high. Okay. And now it is on us how to simplify those things, a gamification, because these guys are continuously on the wheel.
Correct.
And it's good for us, they are continuously
So
on the
ease,
wheel.
instant gratification, the ask is pretty much what a millennial would have.
And then it's not only a vehicle finance for me, it is effectively to develop the entire ecosystem for him. So if a truck is running on the road, I need to ensure that he should concentrate only that his vehicle is running. The entire working capital part, as I mentioned, toll, fuel financing, tire financing, insurance. So we need to integrate entire ecosystem and give him a simplified experience to ensure that he should concentrate only on his business effectively, which in turns, we always says, lending is a business of collection. We should ensure that he runs his business effectively and pay us effectively. So all his requirements are as simple that just click and things should happen. And he was rightly mentioned that the language, because these truck drivers, they want in the multilingual things and the phones they have with them. So most of our technology are OTP based technology, though we are in a process to have apps and everything, but they prefer to have OTP based technology, simplified technology, because they don't have time. Okay, time is very key to them. So they are standing in the fuel station, they just say give me OTP, fill the fuel, a working capital loan is created, they will move ahead. They don't know what has happened at the back end. Okay, so that simplification is very key to us. And the other thing I said is the senior citizen, where the approach is totally different. They need more assisted approach. Okay, because they want to understand what's going on. They want to have some time touch and feel also, because being the senior citizen guys, they want to know there are people, they want to say कि even we are doing a lot of video calling, video PDs and everything. They say आपका branch दिखाओ हमें. Okay, so the entire customer is again a context sensitive. So my solution for my deposit customer is different, solution for truck driver is different, and it's a learning process. It's not something we have stopped at somewhere, it's daily changing.
Correct, right. Absolutely. So you brought in interesting points around customer expectations, despite the income demographics or the educational background or the general profile of the customer. The expectations continue to remain
Yes.
high, and the pressure on you, of course, continues because you have to sort of deliver on those expectations. You also brought in angles of assisted approach, a guided approach towards the senior citizens, because they would want the touch and feel aspect. That trust angle comes into play. That the trust on the digital mechanisms is still not all that high in that segment. Right, interesting. I'd like to move on to you, Mr. Bhasin. Mr. Bhasin, you are a part of a very interesting national institution. A stock exchange is pretty much like a technology company with a trading license, and there's a need for handling things with speed. There is the element of volumes, there is the element of trust, and your customers would not, they vote with their feet. So what is the element of customer journey for your organization, and how are you trying to build it up in a way that it's always effective and efficient and always provides a good positive experience to your customers?
See, in our case, we are the B2B platform. So largely our focus is on, as you said, the best scalability, best throughput, and the least latency. So these are the three key parameters when it comes to the order processing. And but when you now say that how do we enable the our partners, our members, so that they can serve the best digital services. So there we have been focusing more on the APIs, front, where standardization of the APIs for any kind of a messaging which they carry out with us, that is number one. Second is standardizing in the message structures. So that is another area we have been working with the regulators, so that as more and more capital market is really more, there are some standards, but still it is not, they are not enforced. Like in the payments, ISO standards are slowly becoming the norm as a standard. Like Swift messaging is also becoming, following the ISO standards and all. Similarly, in the capital market, standardization of the messaging is one of the key for the transformation of the digitization. Although exchanges were digitized always, like since we are since 1994, we are digital exchange, no floor trading and all, everything is fully electronic. So now in the next miles we have moved on in all these 25 plus years from from the basic level of message structures to the various protocols, as the technology have been graduating into the faster and the lower latency side. So we have been upgrading the our messaging structures and messaging protocols, as well as when it comes to the members, our key stakeholders dealing with us in terms of various their compliance requirements. So that is the front, we are working on making their experience, highly digital. This was one of the ignored area so far, where many of these touch points used to be, paper based, or sometimes as rudimentary as that you take a scan copy, just upload it, and then the back office is processing those PDF files without putting any kind of a sophisticated OCR or AIML or RPA engines. So now what we have done, that the journeys which used to take earlier sometimes say 6 hours to 30 days, we have reduced most of them in less than 2 minutes to maximum 1 hour. But because the 1 hour is more depending on the multiple stakeholders, including the regulator as well, SEBI. So where we are like say annual tax returns, which the members have to do with exchanges and all. So that you would have seen like in our retail tax filing, the experience have been transformed since mid 90s to now.
Correct.
The way it has gone. So same way we have also done a similar fashion that earlier say if you would have asked the members in January 2022, the whole experience was very manual, uploading some PDF files which they scan paper copies and all, and various inconsistent information as well coming through. And we went live sometime in March April time frame, and with the digital completely and the XBRL generation as a automated out of this entire journey, and then uploading that to the final submission of the your tax return. So that has changed remarkably, because we were very amazed that people were filing their returns with the old structures of Calcutta Exchange, Delhi Exchange, or those exchanges were the older. So still they were following the master data of those kind of things, and that this was one of the best time that now all that got first the modernized, as well as the experience have been the then and there. That means earlier a lot of back and forth used to happen between the back office of exchange and the members. So everything was instantly they are getting the experience in terms of gratification like a retail customer or a corporate internet banking for the large corporates. But while how did we reach there? Actually, this has been a very interesting journey as well, that where we have done the research with members before embarking on this journey. What are their key pain points?
Right.
So we had chosen based on the key pain points. There are around 25 key journeys which are the high volume and they are the biggest pain point. And after selecting those journeys, we have studied the behavior, that which are their key pain points, where what customer or what member is looking from us, what modifications, apart from having our own ideas. First we have sought the feedback and their ideas, how do they want to look at it. And after that, once we got the kind of a screenplay done, and we had a playback session with the customers. And then after that, once we rolled it out, we were ready to roll it out. We had a CUG, sometimes CUG ran for 3 months, where because in this, in our kind of a world, members have a very constrained time frame and very busy schedules they have during the working hours and all. But lot of during this time in last 3 months, sometimes or last 30 days, if the journey has taken for anywhere from say 4 to 12 weeks to deliver, but last 30 days or last 3 months, the entire journey, sometimes used to go to total transformation again.
Okay.
So in spite of we have the feedback from the market, in spite of our own efforts, but last 30 days with the CUG, where when they get to see the final product, they tell you very differential ideas come in their minds and all. So this has been a very evolving, so over a period of time we had this first round of like say first 5 journeys when we released. So this has been a very evolving experience, and then that really helped us to mature our own direction as well. In spite of having some of the best creative companies, some of the best digital consultants with us, and in-house expertise as well, but put together everything, unless the customer voice and customer opinion is not best taken into account, we find the gaps. And now what we see that after releasing now out of 23 journeys, there have been now the ask is more. That we had chosen overall when we did the study, there were total 100 journeys we found there are the pain point, but 25 are the one which can return 85% of the satisfaction, and remaining will be just 15%, but they also make a difference. So we are going on another 25, And
What are you hearing from the customers about these customer journeys? What is the kind of business impact that you're seeing?
so the impact is like, some of the various regulatory filings they carry out. One is that one of the very impactful journeys, the announcements. For any changes in the corporate which happens, so they have to go and announce on the exchanges portal based on the SEBI requirements. And they had to push those board decisions and board kind of kind of a annual proceedings which happens in the company, financial results, etc. So it was a very complex process earlier, where they have to type the whole information sometimes on a portal, on a static portal kind of a thing. While now, whatever from the board papers, board proceedings, whatever the papers are coming out, you can just upload them and the application scans and gives them whether they want the whole content, whether they want a part of the content. So they can choose very, very fast. And then after that, it is automatically within few seconds, because that is the key for them, that once they, and for exchanges as well, for while we are competing with other MIs, that when the corporate uploads, it should go fastest to our portal than the other MI. So that is another challenge which we have to face. So what customers have seen, that the latencies have gone down much lower, because again it is a very relative way, that's from what point you count the latency, when the customer logs in or when he presses the submit button for that journey. So that is very important. So what we did, like if somebody is purposefully going only for filing the annual announcements, then from that point onwards, the dissemination to the portal, how long does it take? So that was our key criteria, to reduce it to less than 1 or 2 minutes, and everything should happen in that. So that has really helped. So we got, the earlier announcements were far lesser, and now we are getting more announcements on our portals. So sometimes maybe people might not have been, getting discouraged, or that this cannot go. Now they are finding the easier way to do it. So the more communication happening, so more compliance to the market regulation. So better regulation to the market compliances and all needs as well.
Right, so it's a win-win for all.
Yeah, so it's a win-win for all. Yes.
Right. Now, Mr. Chauhan, you know what they say, nothing sticks in your head better than a story. So, how are you leveraging data for compelling storytelling, so that you can create effective journey maps to try and pick up the behavioral clues, social clues from your customers, to then be able to provide tailor-made offerings to them, tailor-made product, services to them?
It's a very interesting question. Thanks for it. From our business perspective, and I'll be speaking more from MSMEs and their financial inclusion perspective, the GST data is providing us a lot of insight, specifically from their sales and purchases side. I'll give you an example. When the person files a GST, his behavioral pattern is also getting tagged along with it. Whether there is a variation in the filing, whether it's a monthly, quarterly, or yearly filing on the basis of the turnover of that company, whether it's a micro, small, or a medium. The second imperative data which we are getting is on his sales and purchases. For example, he is a dealer who is working on a channel finance where his sales is going up, but his purchases are going down. So that data provides us a tip that this guy has an major inventory problem. In channel finance business, both sales and purchases are very important. Any of this goes down, there will be a repercussion on his credit line and to repay to the NBFCs or the bank on time. So such kind of data elements which we are using broadly, specifically our early warning systems on this 15% dip on purchases and sales, specifically making us more proactive than reactive on the basis of data. Like for example, in the season of Diwali, it's a peak season. A lot of our dealers in merchant funding required a peak limit or ad hoc limit, because the existing limit is not suffice for the demand they are going to get, and that's again the cushion of inventory. The data, historical data which we maintain with us, because we are in term of this business for a long time with them, we can analyze their pattern, historical pattern, and their peak limits, where their limit is going to get to the max and where they need a peak limit, sending them a proactive notification, which gives a very good customer gesture to them from our customer side, that we not only care about lending to them, but we care about their business also being as a personal touch. This all is only possible from the data which we are collecting. The second most important imperative of this data collection is the account aggregator inclusion, which has been launched recently by Samati. Now this account aggregator is helping us to move the funding which were totally collateral based. Now it is going to be cash flow based. And that cash flow data, for example, for a smaller retailer where he is not having a proper establishment of a shop, he is not having a proper collateral to get a credit, but he has a very great customer database where he is selling his product. He has a very great distributor network, very great purchasing power which he is having, but what he is not having is the inclusion in the formal economy and the financial sector. With a small bank account and the transaction which he is doing, and his daily transaction data which we are getting from account aggregator specifically directly, is helping us to fund him fast. And the third and the most important part is the digital initiatives by the government, which are helping us. Like for example, GST Sahai has been launched by the government, where government has said that the purchase orders for all the MSMEs on the Sahai, Jam Sahai app, which is a government e-marketplace, the entire purchase data and the purchase order was released by the government firms like BMC, TMC and other organizations which they are purchasing from the small MSMEs. That data is directly coming from government firm, which is their PO data, which is a purchase order, which is the actual proof of income, which the line which is going to get from government directly. Now this data is helping us to fund them upfrontly, because there is, whatever it is, if there is a government PO, there is a full assurance of payment. Maybe payment will be 15-20 days late, but there will be a payment, there will be no delinquency. So these are certain set of data which is helping us to derive and specifically to provide a proactive approach to help our customers and build our journeys in such a way that all these data elements which are already gathered by us from these data sources of government should not be re-asked by him again and again in every journey.
Okay.
So these are some of the data elements which are helping us to drive the journey.
Right, right. So I'll take a thread from that. I'd like to understand that from you, Mr. Modi. Thank you so much for joining us. But you know what they say, good marketing makes the company look smart, but great marketing makes the customer look smart. So how do you make sure that technology provides the data insights to the marketing team and to the other LOBs to create those recommendation engines, very personalized, customer journeys, customer marketing campaigns, so that you're also able to handle the risk modeling in investment banking, and you're also able to provide very personalized customer journeys as a bank?
See, for us, data comes from various sources. We have so many, sister concerns, like KMIL and Kotak Securities and this and that.
So getting one view of the customer.
It's like one view of the customer. So we have something called data warehouse, which we have embarked a journey on. So we put all the data into that. Otherwise, what happens is you will have disparate data in different applications and each one having their own view. Now, private wealth guy will have his own view, the retail guys will have his own view, and the wholesale banking guys. So what happens is sometimes the call center guys calls a very high net worth individual, very HNI guy, and says, I'll issue a basic credit card, Then the guy says, are you out of your mind? You know what kind of relationship I carry with you,
right.
And you're giving me a card, and the entire image of the bank goes off, right?
Correct.
So we try to avoid that. We have put the entire thing collated into one single database. All the reports are generated for all the business units from there, right? We have customized reports for them. We have gone back to all the businesses. What is the data exactly, as you pointed out? What is that they are looking at? So specific queries have been devised. We have given the access to them itself. They don't need to come back to IT all the time, right? We said, okay, this is a front end. You want to pull the report at any point in time, real time, because the data is always pumped into DWH from all the sources. So this is only a reporting one. So we give it to them, and based on that, what they do is they devise, okay, now which client do I need to target? Exactly as you said, the right kind of marketing. not even personalization,
So
hyper
informed-
personalization,
yeah,
right?
informed,
Informed use. So that is the way you want to go to the client and hit the nail on the head,
Right.
not just
Yeah, you
generally
can't end
taking
up
any data and
frustrating
just
them
going.
in these
It's
times.
frustrating, and the client will easily walk
Correct,
off. Today
correct.
it is very difficult to
Yes.
hold a client, right?
Yeah,
It's like
customer loyalty is such a myth.
absolutely there is no loyalty at all.
Yeah.
Absolutely no loyalty.
And with all organizations providing all of these offerings, it's a love fest. So there is no
Yeah,
loyalty
it's a
at all.
tremendous competition available.
Correct.
So we need to be on our toenails, not even toes. Yeah.
That was nicely put. Akash, you heard our IT leaders and digital leaders here. Does this jibe with what you're hearing from your customers? Are the way when they are going on creating these customer journeys, are these some of the common elements that you also hear from them?
Absolutely, because again, these are the customers we talk to on daily basis almost. So again, we come across these terms very often. Moments that matter, instant gratification, DIY. So today you introduced me to a very interesting term, thinking of customer success. A lot of customers have been so far talking about customer delight and customer satisfaction and so on. But this is like taking it to the next level. How I can think of customer success, right? And making them success. One more gentleman mentioned about making the customer look smart, intelligent, right? So these are the terms now we are coming across. So definitely this is what I think everybody feels, that this is how the new age customer interaction should be. It should be seamless, it should be smooth, instant gratification. People today do not want to really pick up call and talk to an agent. If they can do it themselves, they would rather prefer doing things themselves. But this is just one side of the story. Interfacing, the touch point with the customer, what kind of experience you are giving. I will just try to draw a simile here. Let's say Mumbai airport has gone through a big transformation a few years back, right? Airport experience is amazing from what it was before. So we walk in, there is air conditioned hall and everything is neatly labeled and you know where to go. Nobody is lost and everything is set process, right? Now that's the first part of it. But if my airline experience is bad, if my baggage claim experience is bad, if the things that actually, the core things that matter, which power the overall journey experience of the customer, if those things are not in place, if those things are not tightly integrated, I'm not going to have a good travel experience.
So getting the basics right.
Getting the basics
across the entire value chain.
Across the entire journey, the value chain. So how I can have that connected operation in the back end, that is something that is going to really power and enable every term that we spoke so far right now. So I think that's a very interesting concept, and customers are now understanding that. They are taking cognizance of this, because in terms of technology we have all evolved in a certain way, and nothing wrong in it, because probably those were the best technology decisions at that point in time. But we have now kind of settled in an environment where there are a lot of silos. Those silos do not talk, and front office, mid office, back office, again, the hops are manual, email, phone based, and that's where that consistent TAT is lacking, that consistent experience which you dish out to the customers finally.
That's an interesting thought, Akash. I'd like to take it to Mr. Ratan Kumar. Mr. Ratan Kumar, how do you, in a bank, in a legacy bank, how do you go about creating that customer service oriented culture where the front line, the back office, the management, all of them work as a cohesive unit? How do you make sure that those the broken bits of the organizational culture tie in beautifully together so that the customer then enjoys the ride with the brand?
Well, it's a learning in process, I would say, because in a bank like us, where we have a legacy systems, legacy customers, as well as Gen Z customers and all. So it's a process where we need to handle both the segments equally well. There are assistant modes by which we handle them. There are seamless modes which we have to handle them. And there are obviously the customer touch points where the physical mode is also there. So handling all these channels together in a seamless manner is definitely a challenge. Culturally, we are working on it consciously. how to evolve ourselves in this transition period. So certain modes of customers where certain products and services can be provided in a seamless manner through a digital mode. We are handling them there, and there are certain modes of channels where the physical requirement is there, that has to be handled separately. So it is an evolving process. There is no.
How do you bring your employees up to speed on this journey? Because a well-informed employee, like Mr. Murthy pointed out, can lead to a satisfied, happy customer. So how do you make sure that your organizational culture is in place, is ripe for this kind of for harnessing on such innovations and imperatives?
That's what I'm saying. If I say we are prepared for it, I would be lying actually. So we are evolving, and this is a long journey process for us to embark on that kind of a framework. But our what you call our learning and development department works very consciously on our employees, on our staff, in handling these customer touch points, in handling the way and how they have to handle the customers and all. Apart from as a technology department giving various solutions to make them updated on all these products and services and all. So it's an evolving process. We are still learning and trying to get the best fit out of it.
Right. Mr. Vedya, what have you been noticing within your organization and the ecosystem at large? How do you think, how critical is it to have connected operations that, speak to each other? There is no compatibility issue, there's no communication issue, there is no integration issue, to ensure that all of this works like clockwork. While it is always a work in progress, but, there shouldn't be breaks in the journey, in the value chain.
The good thing about us is right from top the message is clear. We have to be a technology first organization. So while yes, we'll be in BFC, but at the end of the day, technology should be core at everything, and that's message is driven right from top till everybody, till the ground level. And over a period, we've evolved, we've learned, as you said, and luckily COVID helped for technology adoption like everybody else would have experienced. So that's where kind of the technology is adopted in terms of collaboration, in terms of integration. So if you really look at system integrations, they're in place. So now we really don't need to worry when system has to talk. The blocks are in place, so I really don't go there. But in terms of people, it's again sort of people are as well integrated. So it's not really okay, this is ops, this is tech, this is credit or whatever. So normally every project is looked at a cross-functional way. Everybody works together. So if a new system is coming in, it's not a IT's job to really go ahead and do. Essentially, a business sponsor will drive everything. There'll be a cross-functional team. It will work in agile manner. People will talk. So in terms of these culturally, I'll say we've achieved a lot over a period. And it's still sort of long way to go, but all these things are kind of helping to get a connected firm in place.
Right. Mr. Kelkar, how do you think organizations should go about breaking those functional silos to make sure that experiments like these shouldn't fizzle out? They should really gain that momentum throughout the enterprise, all seasons of business.
So I must tell you that digital is not just a lipstick to the gorilla. You have to work at the end-to-end process.
Correct.
And you have to think about straight-through processing as well. And when you see your straight-through processing, you find out pitfalls in handshakes from one system to the other, to the other, to the other. And you need to find the root cause and kill it. At times you may not have a system there ready. You may have to do things manually. Put 10 people and get this done. But to the customer, the experience has to be seamless, right? So once you evaluate from the customer side, you will get to know and this straight through processing. I remember one of my customers in UK in my past life, the digital journey, you used to go through 32 systems, one over the other. And the entire thing should have taken only 4 hours to deliver end to end, if it is straight through processing. Whereas it was taking 3 weeks for the customer to derive the benefits. Right? So how do you collapse all
So
this?
faster time to value.
Faster time,
faster time to
just
market.
improve the straight through processing, and it will kill all the pitfalls in between, and that will improve a lot. Plus, wherever the systems are not, so earlier the system probably does 1 day batch process. Can you increase the frequency? Will you make it will it make your data more real time, more correct? Two systems operating in tandem and updating the same data. So customer will see a very different picture if one is processed and the other is not processed. So once you think from that end-to-end perspective, all these dependencies will get magnified, and then you can work on it.
Right. Uday, how do you think automation and digital workflows can bring in some level of flexibility to then allow the BFSI organizations to create some of these intelligent, intuitive, data-led, self-service customer journeys?
Definitely. So it's a very engaging conversation, and some of the points, if I kind of look at, been talked about, and then connect to how is that in the journey and self-service and automation can help, right? So some of you talked about straight through processing, and if it is not possible to do through system, very interesting idea, put people kind of, but the customer sees it as kind of it is straight through. So so what we have basically and about self-service and kind of digital documents, scanned documents and things like that, some of you have talked about. And in this we talked about also is about front office, back office and middle office, and how they basically connect. And because it's not only about just self-service at a front end, right? And when customers are uploading something and they are getting instant gratification, but it is not every time that is possible. There are kind of things where it is there. All of us work in the companies. We are, as an employee, we are working, and these systems should help us do that faster, so that those customer journeys can be better, right? So what I have seen, right, and kind of we worked with customer like yours, right, and where we have seen is, I will just give the example so it kind of contextualizes the things, right, where these journeys were and what kind of things they could use in terms of AI, automation, digital workflows and things like that. So so when pandemic started, one of the large insurance company here, they had is this post dispersal, you need to go and do customer verification, customer validation that the policy they purchased is really that they have purchased, they have understood the terms and things like that. So before pandemic, it was like people need to go and meet these customers, and they will have a digital tablet maybe, and then kind of have acceptance done and all. And that was not possible in pandemic, when pandemic started. So what automation they did is that whole of this, can it be kind of going on mobile as Bitly, and they are taking picture, they are signing and things like that. And when they do that, agent is also verifying that I have sold it correctly, there is no mis-selling. And at a back end, using automation, putting all this at a back end system so that this whole thing can be done and collapsed. And same insurance company, if I have to look at, they were taking 5 days to do death claim process, right? And that is brought into 2 days. That also because the stock exchanges will not give the NAV value, right? You have to wait till the end of the day to kind of get so that if these are equity linked policies, you need to wait for that to kind of process this. But that, or if I am because if death claim is there, right? What I want to give is the customer is, or they want to do is a withdrawal from the life insurance. They wanted to give a great experience to the customer, even they leaving them, right? We are talking about customer experience and customer journey. So how do we kind of have a quotation done instantaneously, which we used to take them for, right, couple of days to give it. So they could basically use the technology where that automation could help them go to a stock exchange, get a NAV value, because these are external systems, or they have to do is internal approvals and the workflow. So that is where we are talking about is that middle office, back office thing. That has to be basically connected, and for that you need workflows. You cannot just working on emails in that case. So what is required is having that kind of digital workflows where employees work on that, and then when the employees stop, is automation should take over from that.
So it should be like a warp and weft in the fabric of the organization.
Correct, right. So and then it becomes various things, right? Is a scan documents and having an intelligent document processing, so that you can extract the information, or your vendor is also your customer that way, right? Basically external entity and a partner. So in that case, their invoices, how can you basically process faster? Or if I am basically giving a quote to my agent, who is a distributor, how is that I can give a quote when they just say I need a fire quote? They don't really need to go to a portal, because they will have 100 portals to go to, or my DSA. Right, because they have to deal with different banks and all that. So these are all journeys can basically be automated when we are basically using AI or automation and the digital workflows, because then your back office and front office is all connected. And it becomes either a complete self-service, or it is a assisted mode, or even if somebody is coming physically and saying that, oh, I want to break my FD. And there, see, always the chatbots are kind of contextualized from the point of view is that how can I have a B2C customers being served. But what about my salesperson, whether it's an insurance I'm selling or a bank I'm basically selling is a FD. If a customer is in front of me and the physical thing we talked about, can they have a Microsoft Teams common? Can I say on the Teams itself and say that I want to break a FD, how much the person is asking, how much will I get? Can I have back-end workflows and automation and RPA and all of that and pull that information to me, and I am facing a customer, I am giving a better experience to them. These are the customers maybe basically coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. They may not be all digital and all that. So we have to think about, I think in the customer journeys is workflows and people and employees are important, which is workflows will help, and automation and AI will help at least at a front end or a back end of these things. And these things will come together, then it can be a great experience for customers.
Right. Mr. Deshpande, how are you trying to build a safe and secure service resiliency and also reduce the average handling time for your agents?
We at Shriram Transport Finance, my employees are my agents. We don't do any kind of a DSA business as such. So as you was rightly mentioned, if your employee don't want to use your application, your customer will never use it.
Right.
Okay, your employee is your first customer.
True.
Okay, so whenever we give any solution, and like our founder of Shriram Group, Mr. Atragar, always used to say that follow a DC culture rather than AC culture. DC we call it as direct to customer, and AC is somebody sitting in office and dictating the terms what they want. So when you meet customer, you understand what they need.
The feet on the street,
and
know the real pulse of the customer.
We say we are in digital transformation journey. We are not in hurry to digitalize everything. Okay. To just give an example, if you ask, do you have a video KYC? Yes, I do have video KYC. But is this of any use to me? The answer I'll still say is a no. Okay, because it is not improving my user experience. Okay, the user experience, what he was doing earlier, the way he used to do earlier, and now what he is doing, he is not comfortable in that. So then same as I mentioned, whenever you launch any product, any solution or something, my employee becomes my customer. As you rightly said, if he's sitting in front of customer and he completes assisted journey in a manner where customer expectations are there, then only that will become a success. Otherwise it won't.
Right.
Okay, and we as organization, we ensured that none of my sales executive has got the laptop or desktop system with them. Day one, they are 100% on the mobile. Okay, so when you say mobile first, because we know my customers are on mobile, so unless and until we develop something which my employee can use, we cannot roll it out to my customer. Okay, so that is the way we ensure that deliver it to your employee first. If your employee is happy, your customer definitely. If your employee is not happy, no customer is going to use that solution. And in a hurry, don't digitalize everything. Ensure that prioritize the things so that they should get what they want and how they want, rather than we
So
dictating
don't
something.
force
Yeah,
ram it down their
yeah,
throat on a need
yes,
need
yeah.
requirement basis.
We just have to ensure that
On demand basis.
you are there when they are required us.
Okay.
Okay, the way they want us, and we are not in hurry to digitalize everything. Just push everything digital technology to them, and it becomes kind of a overkill for them.
Right. And can you also talk about the aspect of service resiliency, because that's very critical for customers today.
Yeah. Again, when it comes to service, I'll just give a best example of our omni-channel experience. So from the collection point of view, I'll talk. Okay. Uh, as I mentioned, my customers are moving across the country. Okay. If they start from the home today, they don't know when they will come back to home. They travel everywhere. So the service experience, what they wanted is that we want your branch to travel with us. Okay. So we have ensured from the collection point of view, okay, we are available wherever they are there. Okay. So you name the institution, starting from post office to most of the banks in the country, from the petrol stations and the small payment banks. We have tied up with every person, okay, in the country, and we have ensured that whenever, because this guys deals in the cash, so wherever they get the cash, okay, we are ensured that they are within the radius of like a kilometer or something, where they can just go and they just say Shriram employee and they can pay their EMI collection to us. Okay, we have all mobile applications, web portal, everything, but at the same time a point of collection, I will say. We are tied up more than 50 financial institutions in the country, where anywhere they can go and pay the cash. At the same time, before giving it to them, we are ensured that when my feet on street guy
Easier
collects,
access to services and
Yeah.
taking payments to the person himself.
yeah, and
Right.
when we have given this service to the customer, before that we tried with our employees. So my person is to collect from them, and he then is to deposit in all this location. We understood how these financial institutes are treating me and my customer, and then only we ensured that my customer will be comfortable with them.
Right, right. So covering a lot of ground in terms of understanding customers' comfort
Yeah.
levels and his
So
preferences.
this is the ecosystem you have
Yeah,
to develop.
it's required.
You cannot give like I'll type only with this X bank and so I told you post office. We are tied up with post office, which is the highest number of the locations in the country.
Right.
You go to any post office, and thanks to like lot of new things like BBPS and everything has helped us on that lot. But yes, we already tied up with all these situations also.
Right. Now, Mr. Deepu, I was going through this research by Aberdeen Group, which said that organizations that had a formal customer journey mapping process saw higher rate of year-on-year growth. They also got an increased return on their marketing investments. Their customer service costs were low. The revenue contribution to revenue from the cross-selling and upselling was much higher. So there is a very clear, tangible set of benefits that organizations can get from these programs. But still, less than 40% of the companies actually have these formal programs in place. So what do you think holds them back? Why is it the case? What do you think should be done to change that metric favorably for BFSI companies? Where are they missing the boat?
Well, I think you asked it in a very interesting manner. In that if the benefits are obvious, right? Why only 40% firms do this? I think there are 2-3 aspects. One is customer journey mapping. While we talk about it, it's not very simple. Because we need to look at all touch points. Gather, and you may still find you
Right.
miss.
And the art and science marry them is difficult. Like
Exactly, right? So I think that's one point. The other is we talk about customer journey mapping. Everybody talks about journey mapping. But an interesting aspect of that is also the data mapping, right? The data journey mapping. Nobody talks about
Correct.
that, but that,
Yeah.
you need to do
those
that.
are the building blocks.
Exactly. Now, when you do that, you're able to get some, benefits. So one is the fact that it is difficult. The other is, the typical syndrome of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Because we all tend to, prioritize, what's broken. So these are two reasons why firms don't do it. The third aspect is most of us take an inside out view. We don't necessarily take an outside in view, right? I mean, let every person actually introspect and say that, while we all talk about customer service, how many of us, have actually gone and sat with customers, and see the entire journey through their eyes, right?
Correct.
That doesn't happen, right? For example, a prominent bank in the US, they actually had somebody, a very senior, senior folks in their team, stand in the queue in the bank, for the teller. Then they figure out, what were the opportunities, and when you do that, then you're able to, because most people rely on dashboards and, indirect experiences, from teams. So I think, so I think these are three, 2-3 factors which come in. The other is, sometimes we don't rely on the people, at the ground level who are closest to the process or closest to the customer. You get a lot of rich inputs from there. The whole aspect is, maybe it's top down, but if you make it bottoms up, you can get these inputs. So I think these are, these 3-4 factors. Now coming to formal customer journey mapping, the point that you made, why do you get those, benefits? And I'll give you one example. What happens if, let's say, the customer wants to search for your branch? Now, by default, the whole endeavor will be that let's make sure that the address is updated, because you don't want the customer going to the wrong place.
Correct.
So what we did some time back was, if a customer is looking for my branch, right, why should I stop at just making sure that the information is perfect? Why don't I have a bot pop up and ask him saying, you're looking for this? Is there a way I can help service you digitally? And thereby I obviate the need for the customer to go to the branch. That's how, you're able to, take it to the next level. The other, again, one more important aspect which I think a lot of my co-panelists touched upon is, you also have, data residing in different silos. It still is not easy, right? I mean, there isn't, there aren't too many firms where you go, somebody says, I'll be a one-stop shop, right? I mean, you go for motor insurance, you'll go to the motor teams. For health insurance, you'll go to the team, which looks at medical. Similarly in a bank, right? Private banking is very different from, let's say liabilities, which is very different from investment banking. So that's again an aspect. And this, sometimes you can have some, very simple things missing out. One database may have only 25 characters for address. The other database, will have 30 characters. So suddenly you find, 5 letters missing. So you need to, get these integrated experiences going. And I'll just sign off with one example, because as I said, this is a topic on which, one can cover plenty of dimensions. Sometimes you also need to think out of the box. For example, if you look at, let's say, delivery, right? People follow SOPs. Try deliver at home, then try deliver in the office, and then try sometimes, right? Again, I'm giving you from personal experience. So once we tried, social media, we were able to get in touch with the customer. He said, I'm in Goa holidaying for a week. Please come back, 8 days later. We were able to deliver. So that's how, so even when you do get formal, you also need to be creative. And when you bring both of those elements in, then it can become a wow.
Right. So it's a lot of work.
Thank you.
So Mr. Bhuti, Mr. Deepu raised this very critical point on data being the building blocks, and he also brought in this element of silos. So data resides in several silos, functional silos, departmental silos. So how do you then create that ownership and commitment towards data to get all of this in place? How do you create that culture where everyone is the commitment and ownership of that data to then take this next leap? How do you get that in place?
Yeah, in the last response I touched upon, right? Data will, how much ever you get into one.
What is your secret sauce at Kotak Mahindra?
No, it's a top-down approach which is there. It's the discipline which you get in, and the mindset which needs to be there. And it's not at the top also, you need to percolate it down to the last mile. That is important, right? At the top, we sitting at the boardroom, we talk nice things and get out, and at the ground level something else is happening, right? Then organization will never go into that way. What we are saying is
do you think it's a state of nirvana? It can never be achieved in an organization, because this is a really big problem to handle. It's almost like
a problem. It will be there.
Eat an elephant.
It will definitely be there. You get 100 tools, but still there will be manual. There will be some Excel, some lying somewhere, right? That you cannot get away from people, right? It's a discipline which you need to get in and say, you are not referring to it. This is your Bible. This is the data which is coming out of this system is what you need to refer to. And there needs to be a proper governance around it, right? If you don't have a proper governance, then again it's a hanky-dory thing, everything, helter-skelter. This guy's left doesn't know what right is doing, and then the organization will never come to one single state, right? It's the proper governance. It's the way you deal with what data needs to be looked at and how you have to, tailor make your products for your particular function. It's like a complete end to end sequence you need to look at. That's how, at least I can talk of my organization. We govern very strictly on that, right? Because it's a matter of it's a matter of discipline, which again, and
so you have to keep the governance light yet very tight.
absolutely, absolutely light but tight. I like that. But yes, yeah, you have to stitch all these things together. The leadership matters a lot, and a continuous education is important for anything. It's a continuous education. People will keep on changing. You educate, I educate you, and you are very well set. You move out, then there's a new person sitting in each chair. He or she comes with their own mindset. And how do you inculcate it again? So it's a journey. It keeps happening, and there will be one or two who will still miss it, and he will still do it. Then you need to deal with it. You cannot be 100%, but you are there 99.999%, right? Like Vata.
True. Right. Mr. Bhasin, you've been in your previous avatar, you've worked for India's oldest bank. You've also worked with an IT consultancy company. So you have a lot of experience being on different sides of the tables. Why do you think it's so hard to create effective and efficient customer journeys and also customer experiences? What do you think are the missing parts of the jigsaw puzzle? Some of it has been explained by Mr. Deepu, but where do you think, from your experience in the IT consultancy field in a bank, where do you think organizations really struggle with this piece?
Actually, there are, for any journey, there are many scenarios. So, normally when you are going for MVP approach, so you are addressing certain scenarios, and over a period of time, sometimes what we have seen that in the business side, people are a lot more in hurry to get the full-fledged product. So they are still not in the mold of going for an agile way of working. Like iPhone 1 to now iPhone 14, which is going to come. The whatever 14 features, if business heads wanted in iPhone 4, I don't think iPhone would have ever delivered actually. So that is one of the key area, and sometimes when you are going in that MVP approach, they somewhere the kind of a saturation comes, means this is what they have delivered, and the certain scenarios get missed out. So I will just tell you, like, say for example, you are designing a digital bank app, and there could be a scenario where a customer is wakes up in the morning and suddenly he or she looks into their refrigerator, there is no milk, and then they know, okay, if they can go down, and they can pick up the milk. So and suddenly when they go down, they say, oh, I have missed out my card, I forgot my wallet, and now can I make a payment? Means this nowadays UPI and everything is available, but there is some people have still not adopted it. Some people have still a security concerns as well. So and can can that scenario be working where if I go down and pick up a bread or milk, and my phone will be able to make a secure payments,
or a watch or a wearable,
or a wearable as well. So some of those, while if we always look at the scenarios where a person is going with a preconceived notion that okay, now I have to do this shopping, or I have to do this particular banking needs, I have to fulfill my banking needs, only those scenarios get normally in a constrained way get discussed. So some of the corner cases like this, that where we can definitely say various generations of the
but there'll be shifts coming in with a lot of it happened with demonetization, when digital payments became so commonplace. Everybody, even the vegetable vendor, the fruit vendor, started accepting UPI and Paytm.
Yes.
And then again the second wave came with the pandemic, and people there was an increased acceptance even among the senior generations.
Yes.
When they started stopped going to the branches, and nowadays going to branches is almost like going to a dentist. You only go when you really have to. So
Yes.
then those shifts will start coming in. And you're suggesting that the rigid mindset of the customers also needs to change, and basis that then.
Yeah, one rigid mindset of the customer. I think more than rigid mindset of the customer, it is, I think, the various scenarios. Whenever we are looking how detailed the scenarios get discussed for plotting a journey, or certain scenarios get totally missed out. What if if the persona is a housewife, or persona is a student, persona is a maybe a teenager, or persona is a like a is a grown up man or earning man or just getting into the job market. So various all these personas still, unless they get plotted, I don't think the journey will be fulfilling. Every kind of a section of the society, a section of the customer base. So that is, I think, one key area. The other is the data, like what I think everyone is talking about. So we too much focus on the experience. But what is missing out in the overall successful of any digital app or a digital bank or digital whatever industry vertical is, that particular front end comes along, where the data sources are disparate. Every every industry, whether it's insurance or banking or a manufacturing industry or any services industry, some of them have had a probably like a more late start, so they have a leapfrogging experience. But most of them have started with a platforms which were on legacy technologies. They were not digital ready.
Right.
And hence the databases are all disparate. They are not,
Right.
they are not all together. They are not having a one view kind of approach. And even when they are going, or they went to the for the data warehousing kind of a concept. So eventually they found that data was changing very fast since the social media came up in late 2000 time frame. The unstructured data started coming in, and they totally missed out because their data warehouses were not geared up for that. And the data lakes and all, they are not still did not go there. So that is also another very big area, because while so many people end up running the experience area as well as transforming their the data strategy as well, where they go from the the traditional warehouse to the modern warehouse with lake oriented. So these need to run concurrently, otherwise you will not have a end result with a fulfilling experience. That is another major cause of failure. So how do you synchronize the releases between these two? So the planning is very necessary. Actually, and most of the times these digital initiatives get fizzled out because everyone starts, okay, I will embark everything to data lake and the digital experience and all. But ultimately, these two programs, synchronizing them doesn't happen. So these are some of the key areas, I think, are the ones which becoming a challenges or shortcoming for the making the program successful.
Right.
If
Thank
I may add on
Yes.
on this about the difficulty which you're asking, because I think there are two important points which I think I should also discuss. One is the term with the difficulty of why there is a difficulty of defining the digital journey and why there is a gap. There is a term called habituation, and this is happening with most of the companies. And I'll give you an example. When you are new, when you are trying to learn a car, there are too many things which you focus. You focus on the red light, you focus on the rear, you focus on the gear, you focus on the car coming left and right. First few months goes like this. You are very careful about all of the things, and then you will become habitual of driving, and then your focus will be little less on all those things, because your brain is designed in that way that everything which is repetitive, a habit being created, so that your brain is free to do some other activities and learn new things. Habit is good in certain things like this, but for the companies and the program product managers who are defined for those journeys, habits are bad for them, these habituations. And when you change your driving experience into making a digital product, and when you start seeing the small things, and when you start noticing the small things, and from customer perspective, what is his pain point and what is his touch point to my company, when you start ignoring those, that time the friction started, and that's very, very difficult. And thus the Second important point I would like to say is in the digital journey, the smoothness, the frictionless journey which you have created. When we embark on a digital transformation, any company for any product, we keep customer in the center. We create personas for them, we create touch points, we create journeys for them, we create offering for them. Slowly and steadily, when it is going and to see the sun of light and it's going to about to go live, or in between the ideation stage in a bigger firm where there is a multiple department discussion happening, the customer takes the back seat and company started solving their inefficiency in the operational processes. And that's something again create a lot of friction when the end product comes, where one department has set of rules, the other have other set of rules, and they have their efficiency, and they try to solve it in that product which you are preparing for a customer who was in the center in the beginning. So I think, like he rightly said, these are the two things for my opinion also are causing these frictions in these digital journeys.
Great points. Akash, are you also hearing some of these, common impediments that organizations are facing from your customers?
Absolutely. As I said last time, right? These are our customers. So we keep talking to them, and of course, whatever they say, we keep hearing that, right? So, impediments, very rightly, Bashin has said, technology has evolved for many customers over a period of time, and everybody has invested in some solution or the other, which was the best at that point in time. Legacy solutions, again, how do we transform that? Or, the digital journey, so there are so many different aspects to it.
Elements of technical debt, technology debt.
Technical debt, of course. But what today organizations are really thinking about, they are not really talking about that since this is old, I'm going to replace it. This is legacy, I'm going to replace it. Okay, can I tie those things together? Okay, can I have a platform with a single system of engagement that can connect with all these legacy systems or different system of records that I have accumulated over a period of time, and then provide a very seamless experience for the employees? As you said, sir, happy employees deliver a happy customer experience. So can I bring that transformation to the employees where they have a seamless experience regardless of whatever legacy technologies in the backend? So yes, there are challenges when it comes to transformation, but fortunately there are solutions in the market which help you go on to this transformation journey while addressing those impediments that exist.
Okay.
So absolutely.
Right.
I'll just quickly share one interesting thing which happened, conversation I had. So I met a guy who works for an alternate fund. They have $1 billion to deploy. And as we were talking, so I do IT, and he said, look, so we have this fund and this is how we're deploying. And then the conversation went to okay, how the technology is used. So he's absolutely excited about how technology, and then he's saying, okay, this startup, they use it this way and this is where we're deploying. But when I asked him, okay, fine, so how's your journey with the deal? Suppose you're evaluating a deal, and how you use technology to evaluate the deal. So he said, no, ये तो होता है, ये दिमाग है, I have a feel कि ये चलेगा, नहीं चलेगा, नहीं चलेगा, ऐसे ही होगा. As I said, my industry is not going to change. It's going to be as I said, but everybody's adopted, and obviously they consider themselves the cream of financial services because they're funds. So I said, boss, आप इतने अच्छे फंड में पैसे डालते हो, they are top end technology करते हैं, but आप क्यों नहीं adopt कर सकते हो? नहीं हाँ ठीक है. So it's a bit of a challenge, and it's interesting.
It's inertia that
and this is the way we are going to be, and the best tech firms, they'll put the money, but they'll not adopt.
That's true.
See, one thing I'll just add, I have seen transformation happening when, the sponsors are from the top, okay, while the operations team, they always want something new and they want, but unless that vision is not there at the CXO level, the transformation, typically I've seen, they never succeed. Okay, so it can be a good buzzword that, hey, we are going to do a complete service operation transformation in my organization, for example. Okay, but if the executive sponsors do not drive it personally, do not take it personally, the transformation, I have seen typically they kind of fizzle out and they fade off.
True, and any transformation is only as good as its deployment. It has to come both from the higher rungs and also the end users who need to adopt it. That's true. That's true. So, Mr. Vedya, in his previous response, Mr. Murthy was talking about, agents or bank employees barraging the customers with the wrong set of information, not aligned with their, financial goals. So, when it comes to problems like these, how do you think AI and automation or ML could really play a role here in trying to create moments like Mr. Deepu was talking about, create those moments from the customer interactions and to then seamlessly tie it into the communication with customers and customer journey maps? Do you think AI/ML could play a role here?
It does play a role, and it plays a significant role, and I like to say.
And are
yeah.
organizations even matured enough? Are they high up on the curve to tap into those capabilities of AI and ML, or it's really not happening at the ground level?
It does. It is to large extent. Things are still at experimental level, but as Kyasi said, data is really important, and we same thing happens for us for a client's journey. Or suppose let's take journey as in, for us it's the client is ready to be there for the loan and how quickly we can process the application. Now suppose there's a BNPL or a partner loan where the reference is coming from somebody else to you and you have to take a decision. Now there, that's like how you use data. Now a lot of times you'll realize CIBIL data is not available, your ratings are not available, and then how you use different data. So what we multiple partners where we get data points. So like just to give you an example, we will know that a person who stays in BBD Chawl in Varli, so what kind of, so whether he's going to have a TV at home, whether it's going to be a LCD TV or it's going to be old TV, we'll know. He'll have a fridge, whether he's going to own two-wheeler, what kind of two-wheeler. So there are people in the market who really has developed these kind of data sets, and we kind of, so we work with multiple people. We've built our own models. We've trained those models to take decision on a real-time basis. So this is how we kind of try to handle those scenarios, because that's where AI ML comes into picture. These models have been built because we look at like 50, 70, 80 data points, and then we have to give weightage to each point and finally come up with score, because there's not always you'll really have a CIBIL score to say, okay, you should give a loan to this person or not. So these are the data points, and that's where we use AI ML. There are other places we're trying to use AI ML. Say we do a lot of wholesale lending. We lend to a lot of builders for their projects, and now we are trying to see if we can get these companies' data. And as Prashant was mentioning, like the EWS, how we can really build the EWS on top of it.
Okay.
So other thing we are also trying to do, how AI can help. Suppose there is a builder to which we've lent money and he is building. How we can really use AI based on the Google Earth images and see whether the project is every 3 months, whether he's building 5 floors, 10 floors. So these are the kind of things which we kind of playing around and see how we can go ahead. So yes, it's still some way to go, but at least there's work in progress on a lot of fronts.
Okay. Now, Uday, how are you leveraging intelligent automation to deliver performance, scalability, and secure data sharing capabilities to the customers in the BFSI sector you're working with?
So we kind of talked about data, we talked about legacy systems, and we talked about AI/ML, right, and automation. So so how we are helping, right? One of the case was we for a bank like a large bank, right, one of the largest. So they had if their credit managers, if they have to give a loan, they used to take 45 minutes to do that, right, and 1,500 of them sitting across the country and things like that. So how is that we can make the data available to them? And the data may be external, maybe it is a Ministry of Corporate Affairs, or the data may be in the CIBIL score, or it may be their own lending system. So basically having some kind of because it's a legacy thing, right? It's not the centrally, as Mr. K.R.C. Murthy said, this data is there and it's everything is at one place. It may be in the legacy system, like Mr. Basin said, and so its ability to connect those things, right, bring that together so that the credit manager, everything is there in front of them, and then they can take the decisions, and that decision time can basically be reduced. So those are the things we kind of help them with. Now, applying this from a employee perspective also, because many of us here are from the CIO side also, right? So it is that, and this AI is required, and employees also, and the data is also there, is disparate, unstructured, and things like that. For example, we take a simple example of a ticket data. The data of the tickets, which is there in the ITSM systems, whatever you use, is that the data is unstructured, the classification is not there. So if there can be a data model which kind of we help with, is that they are able to get is a potential of automation potential within their customer support systems or within their ITSM systems. And basically looking at that, if they are able to say that, okay, these are the journeys which can be kind of mapped to their pain points, and this is automation which is possible. So that data is sitting in the organization, and how that can be used as a ticket intelligence from the ticket data, that is the dimension basically one can do. So then there is data where it is the MD level of the organization, there are different systems, the data needs to be brought in, and then can some kind of, because reports they keep, there is a place to go and do a report, and people will, there is a self-service, but they still not go and fetch those reports. But if there is anything changing, those variances can some automation pick up, and those trends where there may be a tsunami, there may be something else, right, and that is going to change certain things. Right. So how is that I can automate those things so that at a MD level or at a circle level I am getting those reports, and that we make it visible in a secure fashion. That changes the dimension of the things as well. So those are the things I would say about data automation, AI, legacy systems.
Mm-hmm. Now, Akash, I'd like to move on to you with a different perspective. Now, when we talk about regulations, we also heard about Mr. Murthy talking about customer loyalties being very fickle in these days. There is a rise of the non-traditional market disruptors with the fintechs coming in. This has all resulted in very razor-thin margins in providing a legitimate competitive differentiation in the BFSI sector, because there are early adopters and there are also fast followers. So with this regard, how do you provide a transparent, compliant and customer-centric experience to your customers you're working with?
That's a very loaded question. That's a lot of stuff in one question.
We need to get into a wrap-up soon. So
yeah, so I'll try to keep it pretty concise. So see, I will come back to my first point, right? While we are thinking so much about the customer touch point, improving the customer experience. Mm-hmm. But what truly delivers a good experience is when you have the whole ecosystem aligned with it end to end. The process is part of it, the systems working together seamlessly. Okay, you don't have disjointed systems, you don't have broken processes and all that. So it's all coming to that, right? Today you are speaking about regulations, compliances. So for compliances, what I need to do? I need to keep a tab on the controls. So there are so many controls that I need to keep a tab on, right? Now, if my processes are spread across multiple systems in silos, all my controls are also equally spread across multiple systems. And very difficult to go and actually track, do an audit, whether I am compliant, non-compliant, and that too again is post facto. So probably you are living with a problem for a long time, and only when you do an audit, you realize that you had so many compliance gaps. Okay, so it's never real time. And this is something that is worrying a lot of businesses today, because they are all jumping into this fast running river of digital transformation, high customer expectations, digital economy and everything. While we are doing that, are we really compliant? Do we have a real-time dashboard of how we are executing the processes and so on? That view is completely missing today. And that can only happen when I'm having a common platform for my workflows, because at the end of the day, compliances are around the processes and the assets. So do I have that on a single system today? The answer is no. So moment you bring that together, so I have my system of records where my controls reside, But if I have a single system of engagement, I can get a view of all those controls spread across multiple systems. That single system of engagement which integrates with my different system of records. So all my customer workflows that I will execute, let's say for example I'm fulfilling a claim, an insurance claim. Now is that process compliant? Okay, if that is seamlessly running through on a single system, I can actually pick up those controls, report it onto the dashboard and say that yes, on real time, are you meeting compliance while you are actually serving your customers? Are you meeting compliance while you are actually serving the truck drivers, the road transport, or you are doing some repair job for let's say a gas company or whatever. So there are so many different dimensions, right? So it's very important that you have these workflows executing on a single platform for you to be able to have a view of the compliance across the business processes. And point very well taken. Today there is a very thin margin, very thin differentiator, and that's where everybody is trying to have an edge over the other.
Elbow room for each
The elbow room. Okay. So and then hence most of the organizations now, in at least in past 3 years, I have noticed they are talking about a platform. They are just not looking at a band-aid solution anymore.
Right.
So I think that transformation, that understanding is seeping in, and I am seeing already this transformation. Customers already have started on the transformation journey. So yeah, it is happening.
Right. That's very encouraging. And on that note, we will move into a quick wrap-up. I have 2 separate wrap-up questions for both the sides. So I'd first like to take it to this side. Mr. Ratan Kumar, when it comes to customer journey mapping, what are some of the success metrics that an organization should track? How do they find out they are on the right track? 30 seconds by the clock.
I think we have spoken enough on that.
But what are success metrics that you think you would?
Yeah,
Organization
I
should
mean, I will say it's frictionless and seamless. Simple. And it should be simple, transparent.
Mr. Vaidya?
I think same, lot of points are, but I think how can you convert it, and how can you convert like
Into a business impact.
a transaction? Sorry.
Okay. Into a transaction, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay.
be it a loan or whatever, and how again it can be frictionless, seamless, and as quickly as possible, with obviously risk and other parameters being taken care of.
Right. Mr. Kelkar?
Yeah, I think it's simple. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. That's
Mr. Deshpande?
Yeah, again, keep it simple and deliver what he wants rather than what you think.
What you think he wants.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, Mr. Murthy, when it comes to customer journeys, what are some of the new technologies that are making their way into your technology roadmap? How are you planning to make it a more humane, contextual and intuitive experience for your customers?
We are using quite a few tools, right? And as he rightly said, we're moving to a platform based on this thing. For example, Salesforce, right? These are the technologies which is, as he exactly mentioned, it's a platform which takes care of various touch points. I don't need to have 100 different systems. One platform which takes care of entire thing, and it's integrated and it's well knitted together, right? One view, one dashboard for my management. Whatever you want, go there and pull out from there. Don't run into different systems. These are the tools which we are looking at. It completely transforms the way you actually operate yourself, right? Moving out while we are not legacy, but you will have to keep on upgrading constantly. It is not that I have implemented this and it works for decades together. No, you will have to redefine yourself all the time. Keep looking at it. You will have to spend.
Right.
If you want a quality to be given to your client, you will have to spend and put these tools. So that's where we are looking at. Yeah.
Right. Mr. Chauhan?
So, in my perspective, platform is of course important. In a platform, also the choice of a low code and high configuration. A platform and a modular approach is very, very important. And second is the upgrade of a legacy is very, very critical now at this instance, specifically when we are talking about fintech inclusions, which is where banks and fintechs and NBFCs will coexist definitely. There, the upgrade of your legacy is the key to success right now. These are the 2 main points for me.
Mr. Vasim?
I think it is on the technology front more open platform because the technologies have been changing very, very fast. Like if somebody who has rolled out the digital bank in 2018 or something, and now when you see, probably it was an old containers style, and now the new containers, even in containers as well, there are, containers are getting more and more modernized.
Correct.
So, and locking with the, vendor is, if you are looking a long term, I think it's better to go for a open platform. And there is definitely a locking, whether you go for any on-prem kind of a framework with a licensed software, or you go for any of the cloud-based, So I think vendor or cloud lock-in, I think we should be avoiding that. And as we are going forward, the multi-cloud will be the key. Because what is the key in the, see, we all spoke about in this entire experience and data, but one of the most important thing is the resiliency and the availability of the platform. You do it digital, but when I need it, whether it is available, whether it is working, whether it is performing, so that is the key. And I think many national level large private sectors have made a headlines in many national dailies for many years. So this is very, very key, that I think it has to be resilient, and it should be always available, always on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
NSE.
Thank you so much. I think this is a topic where we could go on forever and ever, but in the interest of time, I think we'll have to wrap it up in the time that we had. We had a very lively discussion with all of you, and thank you so much for that. And we covered a lot of ground, starting from making the customer journeys contextual, making them richer with data insights. Mr. Bhasin brought in a lot of points around available resiliency, the platforms that we spoke about, dealing with legacy, handling data, breaking down the organizational silos. All of these go into creating a positive and compelling customer journey that then creates interesting customer experiences. And I think, as with most things in life, starting sooner than later is what is required for most organizations. I think with that, I would like to invite Service Now to make a quick presentation.
Kind of had a very good conversation, and we don't want to kind of bore you with a lot of PPT. So we already talked about, right, about digital enterprise. We talked about platform, right, and the platform should have that intuitive user experience. What we bring as DX Sherpa, who are partners of ServiceNow, is that whole platform aspect, right? How do we have an intuitive user experience? How do we have a business workflows, which is kind of all encompassing, right? Whether it is IT workflows, internal, or employee workflows, or customer workflows. And you all talked about is a platform and need of the platform. This is what is that platform aspect, and how is that those legacy system connects to that, and automation and AI. So that is what, as a service provider, we are bringing in as ServiceNow partners, and this is that platform, right? And if that can bring you that security aspect, right, you are kind of doing a lot of digital transformation. You want to add anything here?
Yeah, very quickly, actually. At the core, at the center, you see is the Now platform, which is the core engine, which binds all those northbound, southbounds together. So, as I said, right, many organizations, they have accumulated a lot of legacy tech, a lot of technical debt. Like you have a separate system for HR, for marketing, for customer service, for customer relationship management, or for, let's say, IT. Again, there is a plethora of systems for IT. Now, can I have that single platform which binds all of this together, provides a seamless experience for your employees, for your vendors, contractors, and as well as your customers, right? So now the Now platform actually does that for you, okay? Then what should be the, I would say, capabilities of an Agile platform? See, binding all those things together and giving a single interface, I think many organizations have already done using enterprise service bus. So this is not an enterprise service bus, okay? So it's just not bringing the systems together. Basically, this platform offers all the different workflows that you need to execute all your business functions. So your employee workflows, your customer workflows, your technology workflows, your various custom workflows that you would have in your organization. The platform should have ability to build those workflows very quickly, do the chain management, time to market very quickly, and most important of all, it should have a common services data model, which this platform provides, the common services data model. So this gives me that unified view. So what you spoke about, that single dashboard, that single view of how things are getting executed in my organization, whether they are compliant or no. How is my risk posture? Okay, what are my outstandings on technology workflows, outstanding on customer outflows? How average time that I'm today taking to resolve a customer issue, average time I'm taking today to resolve an employee issue, average time I take to, let's say, offboard an employee, onboard an employee, or basically in banks there are hundreds of processes in bank. Okay, how much average time I'm taking, that view today you just don't have, because you don't have a single system providing that binding workflow across the system. So this Now platform basically is what provides you that capability for the first time, and this is what has caught imagination of a lot of customers heading for that transformation, that true digital transformation, right? Where you have a seamless employee experience, you have a seamless experience for your customers, for your vendors, partners, everyone. So, and then again, a platform like this should have a lot of capabilities in terms of interaction. Can I interact with it through a mobile app? Can I interact with through a portal, through an IVR, through social media? It has all of these capabilities. So that's the vision, and that's the vision actually our founder Fred Ledy started with when he started in 2004. He comes with a very strong service management background, and his vision was, I'm not just going to provide just another application for my customers. With application has its sets of features and functionalities, and it is bound by that. It can only do so much. But moment I give them a platform, I'm giving them the freedom. While there will be a lot of out-of-the-box capabilities, but the platform gives the capability to build ancillary workflows, features and functionalities around the application that you need to execute your processes end-to-end. So it always was a platform in his mind, and that's the journey that we have extended since our past 18 years, and phenomenal response we have received from the markets, and we keep investing back into it. So today, almost 50% of our revenue globally, we put back into the R&D. Past 10 years, we have done probably more than 50 acquisitions, technology acquisitions. And the way we incorporate those new technologies in our platform, we just don't create a retrofit integration. That we bought a reporting solution, for example, and then we just created an integration and say, hey, this is one solution. No. Or for example, even AI ML technologies. We break down the code. We at the engineering level, we break down the code and we import that into the platform and make it native to the platform. So it's absorbed into the platform. So all the capabilities that you see of the platform, the AI ML technologies, the workflow capability, the task management, everything, it's all inherent. It's core. So that's a quick one on the platform.
Yeah. And then we extend it with automation, so RPA or AI, and basically extending these humans where they stop in the workflows. And we've been helping, for example, here we are talking about is the insurance workflows and how we have helped in terms of their new business, policy servicing, document processing, claims, and support functions. And same way we basically have worked with the banks, and some of the large banks, like 3 of the top 5 banks, they use our platform to kind of, whether it is giving a loan faster or doing a month-end salary process where there is a intelligent document processing, there is RPA, automation, and then there is a digital workflows. Whether it is wealth management or central processing unit, where there are a lot of efficiency to be basically bought in, or there are governance risk, or IT automation. For example, employees requesting for something and that's basically fulfilled, or a HR request, I want to know my leave balance. Right? Or whether I want to give a fire code, can I give it in 1 minute versus taking say 5 days. So some of our customers, many of us, they were able to get into a market which they were not in, because they were into a large enterprise segments and they wanted to go into a SMB market. We helped them with automation and AI so that human in loop is kind of removed to 90% of cases, and they are able to issue a fire code with the interaction of 5 minutes versus 5 days of wait. So that's what we as an organization who are implementation partners of ServiceNow, we have 300 ServiceNow consultants who can basically implement the platform, what we are talking about as a platform ServiceNow is talking about. experience of doing this for 19 years. So we are in business, 2,000 employees in the organization, been helping globally organization, whether their ITSM journey, IT transformation, implementing ITSM platforms or monitoring platforms and things like that, or taking it to their HR or case management or basically a customer journey or customer support, those kind of systems as well. So it's a digital workflows, AI, automation and the user experience. That's what is a system integration capability that we bring in with our own add-on products as well. Thank you. We'll stop here. And these are some of the customers which are served. So that gives an idea as a group who all are we serving and how we basically helping. Maybe we can share that offline.
These are DX Sherpa and ServiceNow.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for taking out the time to be with us and for sharing your very deep insights and those real world perspectives that we get from all of you. Thank you so much for it, and thanks everyone. Thank you.